get affected that much without having Devontae, and he's got the most time besides Hunt, obviously, and I don't know what's going on with Hunt. I'm not sure what his deal is. I don't know. I don't know if Lynn moved ahead of him that much more, or what's going on with him. But I don't think. I mean, was he needed? Should he play? If he can play, of course he should. And like you said, Isaac, if he's 90, 95, I mean, we got two huge games right in conference play back to back. You got Air Force and you go to Boise. I mean, you can't come out and think you're playing. I mean, there's not really an easy game on the schedule really, from here on out. You look at it. So, I mean, if that holds true, what Brian said about being preseason and this is the regular season, then I hope we're not talking about the same thing next week. I really don't. Win, lose, or draw. I hope we see something different. I really do. I don't want to come out with scripted. They script the first 15 plays. Well, sometimes you got to get away from your script a little bit. That seam route to Houston, probably one of the easiest catches he could have made all night. He just took his eye off the ball and he looked upfield because he was sniffing the end zone, and he drops the ball. I told everybody, I'm like, they'll come back to that. They will come back to that. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see him come back to it one time after that, which kind of surprised me. I thought they'd come back to that play, but I'm done talking about Arkansas State just because I'm happy with the outcome. I think it could have been more, dominating, but the way their players acted and everything, I hope they don't win a game this year, to be honest with you. Just the way they acted. But now I'm ready to talk about Air Force a little bit and what we're up against, guys.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was interesting is Air Force is obviously coming off the bye. Looking at their schedule, I mean, what they did against Abilene Christian and Georgia State, I don't know how much that's going to help the Aggies prepare or really see how good this Air Force team is. But real quick, kind of going through their schedule, they kind of have, because they're a service academy, partly, it's kind of weird every year, but they're on the same schedule as Boise because they play Fresno State, Hawaii, San Jose State. Boise State is actually the last game of the season. So that'll be a fun one to watch. November 25th, they'll be home against Boise State. So you never know, that could come back to make a difference to the Aggies or make a difference in the Mountain West Conference. One thing I thought it was interesting too, looking at their schedule, is they play New Mexico at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. That's kind of weird, but I would assume New Mexico kind of likes that because they're trying to get some recruiting, foothold in Texas, and Air Force has some recruiting in Texas as well. But for some reason they're playing New Mexico at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, and so what do you guys? I mean, I was going to ask our Air Force guest who couldn't join us or whatever. What do you guys think about Air Force? Obviously, we'll know, but we're on a podcast right now. So what do you think about Air Force as far as kind of Air Force, Boise State? What do you look at as far as the standings, the finish, the contenders, whatever you want to call it? What are you thinking as far as the conference and the division?
It's always really hit and miss, it seems like, the last couple of years. Nobody expected New Mexico to kind of contend right up until the last couple of games last year. Nobody expected us to struggle like we did. I don't think anyone counted on Air Force to contend like they did, or Boise to kind of struggle like they did. It's at this point in time where there's been no conference games played, it just seems like maybe it's kind of a crapshoot. I've got a personal belief, and it may sound, I don't know, maybe a little braggadocious or whatnot, but personally, I felt coming into the Mountain West as Utah State, we should never lose to three teams. We should never lose to Wyoming, we should never lose to New Mexico, and we should never lose to Air Force. I feel like we have too much to offer as a program, as a school, and as a community, that we should be able to bring in better recruits on an absolute 100% yearly basis. And yet, look at what happened. We lost to Air Force in New Mexico last year. So that goes out the window. I still don't think we've got any business losing to teams like Air Force, New Mexico, and Wyoming. But on any given Friday or Saturday night, I guess anything can happen. That's why we play the game.
Yeah, those two games last year hurt. I mean, they hurt big time.
Oh,
and there was no reason that I think Utah State should have beat New Mexico, definitely. I think Air Force last year, in my opinion, Air Force looked like a legit offensive line, a legit defensive line. They were just tougher. They were better. And I think that's the difference between a really good Air Force team is obviously the quarter. It all starts with the quarterback. But if Air Force has a good offensive line and they have a good defensive line, I think Air Force is going to be good and they're going to be a tough game. And so I wasn't surprised at all that Air Force beat Utah State last year. It ended up being really close because Utah State did get some of those deep balls and they did keep scoring until that last possession. Obviously, they kept scoring and kept it in it. But the defense didn't play that well, and the offensive line didn't really play that well either. So I don't know, Seth. You have a thought on this year's Air Force team?
No, I tried to watch a little bit of the Georgia State game, just on a Campus Insiders, and I didn't have very good luck with the feed or whatnot, but I did get to watch a couple series, so this is based off of just a couple series. There's going to be opportunity, or there should be. I mean, there was last year. It seems like every year that you play Air Force, there's going to be opportunity for your receivers to take a shot, so hopefully Kent Myers can not overthrow them 10 yards, let them go up and make a contested catch or whatever they need to do, or maybe you can hit them in stride. That would be nice. But Georgia State had, just on one drive alone that I got to watch them, they had, the one was like a 36-yard touchdown pass, one of the touchdowns they got. I mean, they only scored 14 points, but one was like a 36 to 40-yard touchdown pass. And then probably 2 plays before it, I think they came back to it like 2 plays after that, because 2 plays before it, they took a shot and the receiver had the guy burnt by, now it's Steelhammer, and Steelhammer's been there for like 10 years. And he's a really good safety. But he was burnt by probably 5, 6, 7 yards, and the quarterback just overthrew the guy. But, I mean, there's going to be opportunity there, and I think with I can't really judge, but I mean, I'm basing this off of last year because they basically bring everybody back from last year.
Right.
What I think our guys need to do, I mean, our defensive line, we need to get more penetration, especially on the, when they run that option. They run the option, and they're always, they're pulling these guys and everything else, their offensive line and stuff. That's the biggest thing with option. If you can get penetration, you're going to screw the whole thing up. And that's what I'm hoping for, because the last 3 games, our defensive line has got penetration, whether it be from Travis or Ricky or Ian or, whoever. I mean, they're getting penetration. But it kind of goes back, and I kind of mentioned it on the board. I wrote just a little bit on there, and I think the linebackers are really going to have to, especially the young guys, they're going to miss. I mean, you're going to see it. Everybody, don't freak out, because it's going to happen. They're going to do something that they shouldn't, they didn't stay assignment sound. It's going to happen because you can't really mimic the second team practice squad. They're going to have a hard time mimicking exactly what Air Force does, because that's what they do. I mean, it's like a professional, somebody that's an amateur trying to do what a professional does, really, you know what I mean? So it's going to be hard for them to actually see it until they see it. So they're going to make the biggest thing, I think, is Dallin Levitt. The safeties have got to. We cannot let an Air Force receiver have 100 yards receiving, let alone 200 like we did last year. I mean, that was the whole game. I mean, he had like 7 or 8 receptions for 218 ridiculous something like that yards, And Hunter Sharp had a huge game, but just not as big, They have him back. We don't have Sharp back, so somebody's going to have to step up. I think the safeties we have in place. I mean, Levitt, he's seen enough. I don't know if he's seen Air Force. I don't know if they played him at BYU, played him, or
I don't think they did.
Rockamore's seen it. The other guys have seen it. It's nothing new to them. The way everybody knows Levitt, he's just a junkie, So, I mean, I'm sure he's been in the film room and is watching as much as he can.
So in the last 3 minutes, let's real quick put out there what the keys to the game are, I guess, because I like the take advantage of the corners. I think Ronquavian, Tarver, and Lewis have been our deep threats. I guess Jaron Colston Green has as well, but I think the Aggies have to get some of those chunk plays. And that's one of the keys to every game. I mean, you need to get some of those chunk yardage plays, and maybe Devontae Mays, break some runs and everything. But you've got to go downfield, and going downfield opens up everything else. So I think that's a huge key, as well as turnovers and being assignment sound and all kind of those other obvious ones. Do either of you have another key to the game, you think, in the last 2 minutes we have?
Just penetration.
At this point in time, Jalen Robinette only has 4 catches for 74 yards and a score. He absolutely, just like Seth said, he can absolutely not walk out of here Saturday afternoon with 274 yards for the season. Got to stay home. Got to stay home. It'll be interesting to see. They'll probably play a 4-3. It'll be interesting to see who the 4th defensive lineman is. Probably Faimalo would be my guess, Edmund Faimalo. And then just go with the 3 linebackers that have got the hot hand and the most experience. Probably a combination of Derek Larson, Brock Carman, Anthony Williams, and probably Chris Jansen. I think he's been coming along quite well, actually.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely, and that penetration can help throw off the passing game as well. So it would be kind of a nice thing to have Unga in there, maybe as a kind of a rush defensive tackle. Maybe Mo Wasike can be that guy. Travis Seafeld obviously can be that guy, and Elite Fua and Tongiai and Faimalo. I think all those guys can kind of get some of that penetration. Before we forget, I don't think we've even mentioned it, but UStateAggies.com is our sponsor of the show. We are adding recruiting coverage with Dane Stewart. We're adding a basketball reporter in Kyle Haywood. So we've got a lot of awesome things coming up. I feel bad that I didn't mention it until the last minute of the podcast. I completely forgot. But definitely keep checking back at UStateAggies.com. We've got tons of good stuff coming. tons of recruiting content and